here we go. Welcome to WoW number 11. It is so hard to believe that we've actually been doing these shows for almost 3 months. And I'm so happy to see all of you. If you are not on camera, we prefer to see your beautiful smiling face for this energy exchange. If you have a last name, please take it off if you know how. If not, Kelly will do it for you. And so in case you don't know me, my name is Tracy. I'm a health coach and personal trainer. And when I had my own business, my whole mission was on helping people age stronger and healthier instead of sicker and weaker. I chose a different lifestyle than my parents. And I also say it's, nobody's going to be perfect, but it's just always doing better. Okay. Being passionate about just doing better, right? The 90-10 rule, 80-20 is super popular, right? But 90-10 is actually really, really good because it's absolutely impossible to live a perfect life. Even though we were just talking about that, a minute ago. But unless you get rid of your smart TV, your cell phone, your Wi-Fi, your eating out at restaurants, anything in a box or a wrapper, you guys, it's really hard to actually be 100% perfect. So allow yourself grace and say 90-10 is really darn good. Okay. So we know that 2023 is the golden year of me and of you. And our goal here, as we have maybe 5 more sessions, is to make your life better. Okay. So we have already had 10 shows where we've talked about goals and vision, lymph system, gut health, candida, exercise, muscle testing, food and frequency, and thriving during the holidays. And we have also heard beautiful testimonials, which we're actually gathering together now so we can share with others because you guys have had amazing results. And I want to thank you for your messages and emails telling me how this show has helped you. And it just is such a joy. And most of you know that my partner here is Dr. Gloria, and she has 41 years of clinical experience. So say hello, Dr. G.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Again, this is the comedy show for you, right? Yes.
This is our comedy show.
But it's Tracy's philosophy. Her methodology is right in alignment with me. As much as we joke back and forth and we give ourselves a hard time, my motto has always been, in 40 plus years of clinical practice, was that I want to be able to age, but not show it or feel it. So it's healthy aging, which is holistic rejuvenation. And I really believe, and I know that what Julie's going to share with us today is a huge part of that, because you can eat right. And like Tracy was saying, you can eat out and not have an all organic, perfect diet. But if you don't do some other things, like what goes on your skin, how you breathe, how you hydrate, all of that is part of keeping yourself healthy and aging without looking or feeling old. So I'm really looking forward to Julie's presentation today. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Me too. And I've been working with Julie a lot the last few days, so I can really understand it more and help share it with you guys. So remember that WOW is dedicated to giving you more life in your years, not just more years in your life. Okay. We want you and want to inspire you to be full of vibrant energy and joyful experiences. And life is nothing but a series of inhales and exhales. And when we stop our breath, we stop our life. So today we have Julie with us, and she's going to actually share with you simple breath movements that could completely transform your life, unstick energy, and clear out trauma. And this is going to be a series. So basically today is step 1. And then you're going to have a couple links to watch for steps 2 and 3. And then we're going to have a live experience for step 4. And I believe it's going to be the Tuesday after Thanksgiving at 7 Central. But we'll let you know when it's going to be. But I believe that's when it's going to be. But you have to watch those 2 other videos in between now and then in order to, we really need you to watch those so you can understand what the experience is going to be about. And because Julie's going to have a lot to say, I'm going to go ahead and get started right over there with her. Mm-hmm. So most of you guys know Julie. Okay. She was diagnosed with an incurable vocal disorder called spasmodic dysphonia. And she began a quest to heal herself because the mainstream medical wasn't supporting her and wasn't helping her. And she was unable to speak for 9 years. So she completely dove into alternative healing modalities, and she had a great, healing process on her own to restore her voice. And she is here today to help you liberate your voice. And that could be literally or figuratively, right? So many of us have health issues because we hold in what we're really feeling. And so because, we decided to do this early on right now because of the holiday season and because self-care should be at the top of your list right now, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so you must fill your love cup up first. So let's welcome Julie to the table.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And, self-care is just primarily important. And we put this together for you kind of like a workshop. And it's really designed to assist you in developing healthy coping mechanisms to manage stress more effectively, to address anxiety that can come up in this holiday time, as Tracy was referring to, and to process the trapped emotions that can cause mental and physical strain, and also result in health issues. And people don't always make that connection to the physical changes that happen in the body due to long-term unresolved stress and trauma. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to start by saying, in general, we have 3 main ways that we can deal with stress and trauma. And the first is through some kind of talk therapy. So we may see a psychologist, a counselor, a social worker, a psychiatrist. There are lots of different places that we can go to talk about the things that we struggle or deal with. And that's a good thing to do, talking about what we've experienced and venting about it can be a really productive thing. In fact, sometimes even just talking to our best friend is enough for us to unload enough of it that we feel a lot better. The downside with this approach is that if we talk to the wrong person about our past traumas or stresses, or if we talk about them incessantly, if we talk about them over and over and over again, what happens is that we create the same chemical soup in our body that was going on at the time that those events happened. Mm-hmm. And so it's not productive. It's really important to either deal with a professional, if that's the approach you want to take, or to only talk to people who will redirect you when you start getting too emotionally involved in it. The next way that people deal with these types of things can be through some type of prescription medication. And so sometimes medications are prescribed that replace chemicals that are missing in the body. They can ease anxiety, lift depression. But the downside with that is that they don't always do what we might hope they would do. And they come loaded with side effects. And so that is not necessarily a pleasant way to address these kinds of things. And then the next step in that is that a lot of times people make a decision to self-medicate. And that is never a good thing. And when we start talking about the bulk of what we're going to be discussing today, you'll see why that's a really bad idea. The third way that we have at our disposal isn't as commonly known about, but the third way is releasing those things through some type of body-based trauma release modality. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And when we get together the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, we're going to be doing this through using circular breathing techniques, meditation, movement, sound, and other techniques that aid in calming the nervous system. So that's really one of the upsides of this work that you will eventually get to experience. It is really good at calming the nervous system.
And Julie, how did you get involved in this work?
Well, you alluded to it when you told my story to introduce me. And some of you know about that experience, but I was diagnosed with what was represented as an incurable vocal disorder, and that just wasn't acceptable to me. And so I tried everything that I could think of to recover, and everyone kept telling me, "No, you're not going to be able to do it." And so I, in the process, had a spiritual revelation that led me to discovering that I had an undiagnosed thyroid disorder. So that was one piece of the puzzle. And then from the very beginning, I knew that people who are diagnosed with that particular disorder almost universally have histories of severe stress. And I certainly knew that was the case for me. And I suspected that trauma I had experienced in my childhood might be playing a role in it too. I just didn't know how. Mm-hmm. And so when I found the thyroid piece, I got on medication. I'd been without a voice for 3 years. When I say without a voice, I mean, I couldn't even string 2 words together. I couldn't have a conversation with you. It was horrible. And so when I got to the right dose of the right medication, all of a sudden my voice popped back in and I was good to go. And so I took that knowledge that I had about the role that stress and trauma had played in the whole thing, and I just put it on the back burner. And to be quite frank with you, I thought I had dealt with all of that stuff. But 8 years later, my doctor decided to reduce the dose of my thyroid medication by 10 micrograms. And I knew I should have spoken up at the time, but I justified it. What could that tiny a difference make? Well, within a month, I couldn't speak again. And it was just as bad as it had been initially. And that took almost 6 years to get to the other side of it. And so at some point in that experience, which was truly a dark night of the soul for me, I kind of had to go back to, okay, what's this trauma piece? What's this stress piece? How can I look at this in a different way? And so I just happened to get invited to a retreat that I didn't even have to pay to go to. They needed an extra person. And I was introduced to the techniques that we'll be sharing with you in that special call. And they changed my life, absolutely changed my life. Within a month or two, I started to notice that my voice was improving. Excuse me. And then as
Take a
time
drink,
went
Julie.
on,
Don't force yourself. Take a drink.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm dealing with some gunk. So I'll take a drink when I need to, if that's okay. with
Yes,
everybody.
absolutely.
But I found that, within a couple months, there were even more improvements. And then the longer I did the work, the more changes I saw. And so I had been through a lot of heavy stuff during that period of time when I couldn't talk. My business partner did a hostile takeover of my company because he couldn't deal with being inconvenienced during the 3 years that I couldn't speak. And we lost our home that we had raised our children in because I couldn't work. Everything that I knew how to do involved my voice. I lost friendships that I thought were deep and abiding friendships, but those people just couldn't deal with it. And so I thought that I was going to carry that loss and that grief and that fear. What if it happened again? I thought I was going to carry that around with me for the rest of my life. But I was about, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years into doing this work. And all of a sudden, I realized that all of that stuff had been replaced with gratitude. And I could see very clearly that every single situation, even the ones that I thought were so negative at the time that they happened, had brought me to the place where I'm at now. And I can tell you that Tracy and I wouldn't be doing this for you today were it not for all of those bad experiences. They were formative and they gave me a purpose. And so it's really in the spirit of that gratitude that we decided to share this with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. So should we go ahead and open the slide deck?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. Whoops.
And we're going to spend just a few minutes, beginning with a visualization. And some of you who come to Vibe Tribe meetings know that whenever we do a visualization, we always start by placing 2 fingers on our forehead and pulling our fingers down to our heart, moving our focus and attention from our mind to our heart space. And so I want to go ahead and begin with this meditation. We've got to skip yet. That's where we are supposed to be. Thanks, Tracy. And we're going to do a little river exercise, if you will. And so what I'd like you to do, and you can keep your hand on your heart if that feels good. And I'd like you to close your eyes and imagine being carried away by a raging river. Sometimes in the course of our lives, it feels like we're being carried away downstream and we're struggling to stay afloat amongst all the mud and debris. And that mud and debris are thoughts coursing through our minds. They're sensations that we feel in our bodies, both consciously or unconsciously. They're events that we've experienced or imagined. And we now know that if the imagined event feels real enough, our mind can't tell the difference. And they're feelings that we can either acknowledge or bury deep inside in the river. The river is our distress as we're pulled helplessly downstream. Can you see that struggle in your mind? Can you feel what it's like to be totally outside of your own control, to be at the mercy of an unrelenting torrent that's doing its best to sweep you away. And what do? Do you fight against it? Or do you allow yourself to be carried away by it? Can you feel how powerless that makes you feel? So just take a brief moment. Just feel into it. Now go ahead and open your eyes. The good news is that we have another option. Instead of surrendering to the river, we can instead stand on the river bank and watch as those thoughts, events, sensations, and feelings go by. We can be observers instead of victims. And so the techniques that we'll be sharing with you partially, well, we're going to go over some information with you today, but you'll see the actual techniques in the video that Tracy and I prepared for you yesterday. And those techniques are really a tool that will allow you to do what I just described. And so that's really our focus. And life can be a lot like that raging river sometimes, can't it? Mm-hmm. And we just have to do our best. But if we have tools that can help us, all the better.
So, Julie, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I would like to know how many people that are with us today, when they did that exercise, as I did, had flooding memories of exactly what you were talking about, because I sure did. I had a traumatic childhood as well, and all of those things that I was so afraid of as a child all came back. So just that simple exercise of awakening that process of fear and betrayal came back. How many, Tracy, maybe when you open it up, you can ask our audience, how many felt some of those things come back? Whether it's, past relationships, or in my case, it was childhood, especially. Because what you just did was opened up a part of us that we don't usually open. We don't have that guidance that you just gave us. So that's extremely valuable in the holistic part of healing.
Thank you, Dr.
And thank you for that. That was quite enlightening to me.
Thank you.
And I hope it was to all of you too.
Yeah, we'll
Julie,
find out.
This slide's pretty funny because today I was in the shower and I've had a busy day and I'm like, okay, I've got to do this. I got to do this. And I go, nope, you just got to feel the water on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's about pivoting faster. So this just reminded me so much of that shower this morning.
Yeah, that is so true. And so I ask all of you, what brings stress into your life? What really stresses you out? And I think it's safe to say that we live in a society where the stress levels are so much higher than they ever were before. And we have so much stuff coming at us, just like Tracy just said. And, whether it's our job or trying to take care of our children and work at the same time, whether it's the 24-hour news cycle that is always delivering bad news at our doorstep, or our access to the internet, that we're bombarded with information, whether we want that information or not. And it requires us to make choices that people never had to make before. And so can you feel how all of that just really raises the stress level? And it's no wonder that people are getting sick No wonder that people are struggling with their emotions. It's a byproduct of the society that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's lots of stress in the world. And I think that a lot of it we put on ourselves by trying to be more than we are and trying to support everyone else instead of looking out for ourselves. So that's at least a lesson I've had to learn is just let everyone live their own life, stay in your own lane,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
just do things that make me feel good. And then everything else seems to be less of a big deal.
Yeah.
That's very
Yes.
true. Very true. Yeah. And at this point, Tracy and I have had a conversation more than once about how we also can reduce our stress level by teaching people how to treat us. Remember, Tracy, we had that great conversation?
Yeah.
Because if you're allowing self-sabotage because somebody else is shoving it at you and you're convinced of that criticism, of that disorganization. I mean, like for me, disorganization and not planning drive me up a wall. I'm organized, I plan, I have things done a month in advance. I had my Christmas shopping done when I used to do it with the children and the grandchildren. My goal was by Labor Day, because I traveled a lot. And if I'd see something and think, oh, Julie would love that, or Cynthia collects those, or Tracy would love that, I'd buy them and then wrap them all by Labor Day weekend. And it became a joke. And people started saying, you know, I'm so stressed and you're not. Well, why would I be? I did it months in advance. But not everybody lives by those rules. So I had to learn to tame my expectations to a certain level. But I'm not willing to tame them anymore. The level is down to where that's it. I'm not taming them anymore, because when people don't plan, when people are not organized, it affects everybody that they're interacting with. Do you agree, Julie?
Yes, it can definitely have an effect. And we were just talking about this in Twine Zoom last week. We need to be able to speak our truth. We need to be able to tell people what we can handle, what we can't handle. We need to be proactive in that way. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a key thing also. Key's been teaching that. It's like everything is just so perfectly unified. I loved how somebody yesterday said it's a symbiotic system, that all of our calls are all working together. I love that quote. Anyway,
yeah, they are.
I like this quote too. Emotions are energy. Everything is energy.
Yeah, everything is energy. Everything is frequency. And so, these things that we're talking about right now, and when we did that exercise, Dr. Gloria pointed this out so beautifully. That brings feelings up. Thinking about the stress that we deal with brings feelings up. And so emotions are energy, as Tracy just said, and all energy wants to do is move. So when stuck emotions cause stress, it's just the energy asking you to help move it. And so that's what we're going to do when we have our event. Oh, thanks, Tracy. So ideally, these techniques can help you feel a lot more like the glass on the left than the one on the right. How many times in your life have you had so much coming at you, so many things that you're juggling, that it feels like if one more drop goes into your cup, it just might spill all over the place, and you don't know how you're going to clean up the mess. And so stress is an inevitable part of life, even in a perfect world, even when we get our dream house, even and anything that we experience has some level of stress attached to it. And so the idea by using these techniques is that you'll have enough reserve, enough capacity, enough capability to deal with what comes at you in a more graceful and easy way. And so that's what this is all about. So we're going to talk about the vagus nerve now. What do you want to say about that, Tracy?
I don't go to Vegas.
I don't either.
Yeah. Yeah. What happens in
I
Vegas
had to go
does
a
not
couple
stay
times a
in
year
Vegas.
because I was on a board and they had their medical meetings in Vegas, but God, I hated it. I only went because I had to. And never stepped foot in a casino and wouldn't stay in a hotel where they allowed smoking. So that's a tough one in Vegas.
Good for you.
So what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas, huh, Julie?
It does not. It does
And
not.
tell us why. Tell us
Well,
why.
so-
That's a great slide.
Yeah, vega is from the Latin word to wander. And if you look at that highlighted nerve in the slide, you'll see that the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body. And it contains over 100 billion nerve cells. So scientists are just beginning to recognize what ancient wisdom has known all along. This special nerve that you see here is essentially the superhighway to the mind-body connection. And it's the command center of our nervous system.
And Julie, isn't that the reason that people say they get a nervous stomach when they're stressed?
Yep, we're going to be talking about
that. The butterflies are different than a nervous stomach. Those that get nausea and vomit, I know I had it all as a kid, but nobody explained the vagus nerve at that point, obviously. But
well,
isn't that what happens? Because that nerve is so commanding and so extensive that when you're upset up here, you're upset in the digestive system.
Absolutely, yeah,
that's really good.
Got far-reaching effects. So it affects our breathing. Very interestingly, I discovered that its primary function is to support the production of normal speech. And it also controls the muscles that allow all of the fine motor action that takes place in our face. So the nerve is very tied to communication. And no wonder I couldn't talk, because I am quite certain that my vagus nerve was horribly, horribly impacted by all that stress and trauma that I had dealt with. It affects our swallowing, our heartbeat, as Dr. Gloria just mentioned, our digestion and anything related to that. It affects our circulation, our bladder, and it can even impact our fertility. So that nerve does a lot of things in the body. Now, the important thing about the vagus nerve is to have good vagal tone. And the things that adversely affect our vagal tone are the big three, are stress, anxiety, and trauma. But then add to that any unhealthy coping mechanisms that we may have, smoking, drinking, unhealthy eating. That's where the self-medicating issue really presents itself as bad as it is, because all of those kinds of things adversely affect the vagus nerve. Working too much, not getting enough exercise. In my case, exercising too much. I was on a mission. I was doing a fitness program right before I lost my voice, and I thought I was doing something really good for myself, but with everything else that my body was holding, it was too much. And not sleeping, not getting enough rest is another thing that really adversely affects the vagus nerve. I love this. This is so interesting.
It's great.
Along the length of the vagus nerve, there are connection points. And scientists call those connection points autonomic plexuses. They just happen to line up with what the Indian culture calls the chakras, with what Chinese
It's just
culture,
a coincidence, Julie.
just happens. What the Chinese culture calls the meridians. And so what I want to say to you here is this. We're in our infancy in terms of understanding this nerve, what it does for our body, how we can interact with it in a way that's healthy and supports us. Those older cultures have a wealth of knowledge that they can share with us. And so it's pretty cool. So when our vagus nerve is healthy, we have good vagal tone. And that allows us to access the parts of our brain that control our creativity. We make better decisions. And we can spend more time in areas of higher cognition. We're hearing people talk about that using this device. And so we know that it's supporting our vagus nerve. When our vagus nerve is working properly, we'll sleep well. What's the big thing that people report when they get this device?
Sleep.
They start sleeping well.
Yep.
Our hair and nails grow. Our digestion smooths out. We just have an overall sense of calm and well-being. People are talking about that too with the QT Wave device. And we have good memory function, particularly our short-term memory works much better when our vagus nerve is healthy. But when our vagus nerve is unhealthy and our vagal tone is poor, that keeps us trapped in the part of our brain, that primal part of our brain that's connected to our fight, flight, and freeze responses. And so it shows up physically too. When the vagus nerve is unhealthy, we might be depressed or anxious. We might develop cardiovascular issues or hypertension. Diabetes is directly linked to poor vagal tone, as are digestive disorders, infertility, and autoimmune issues. All of the diseases, disorders, and conditions that have no known cause and no known cure are very likely connected to poor vagal tone. So there are things that we can do to engage our vagus nerve, and they're really simple things that you would think would have no profound impact on anything, but they do. And so as long as we engage in these types of things on a regular basis, and we're not doing the other things that cause harm, we can make great progress in restoring our vagal tone. So long, deep breaths. And we're going to be doing that on that Tuesday night. Splashing cold water on your face or turning the cold water on for a minute at the end of your shower can engage the vagus nerve and create positive forward movement. Interestingly, the opposite, holding warm water in your mouth. So, all those rituals we have around coffee and tea and holding the warm cup and savoring it in our mouth, we're on the right track. If we did it less the caffeine. But yeah, that can have a really profound effect. Engaging in monofocus type activities, reading, coloring, drawing, knitting, things that you can't multitask when you do them. Great for the vagus nerve. Stretching and yoga, meditation, napping, and that gratitude, we're back to gratitude again. Dwelling in a feeling of gratitude is great medicine for the vagus nerve.
Define quick when it says quick nap.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it's implying is that you don't have to take a long nap to get the benefit.
Okay.
So, yeah. Napping for as much as 10 minutes or 20 minutes can make a big difference. And so we're going to be providing some supplemental materials, if you will, to the videos that you'll have access to. And this is one of them. So this graphic will be, you'll be given access to that. And it has daily, weekly, monthly things that you can do that you don't have to change things around too much in your life to do them. And they can have a great impact on your vagal nerve.
Thank you for reminding me. You guys, I'm going to redo this so it's not black background. It's a white background with black so that you can print it. I think this is a really good thing. I carry around a journal like this every day with my checklist, with my stuff. And then I have some things that I do once a day that I fold up and put in here. So each day I bring it forward. This, I think, is a good one of those types of things to have. So you can look at it daily.
It is.
Yep. It's wonderful.
So you're gonna fix that so it's easier to print.
Yes. And when I share the replay of this show, I will have this document uploaded and ready to go for you guys. Okay.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Whoops.
So this will all be in the Tuesday or the videos before Tuesday, Julie?
Well, this is what we're doing today is actually the first video. And then there are two additional videos. The second one focuses on the nervous system, how the autonomic nervous system works. And then the second part of that video addresses fight, flight, and freeze, what happens in the body when we're in those states, and what to do about it if we have trapped trauma or incompleted trauma, or if we have, that nasty energy of long-term unresolved stress sitting in our body. What can we do about it? So that, and that's what the session that we'll be doing together will be all about.
That's fascinating information because, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we show the last slide. So this one is the last one you want to show, right?
That's the last one. Yeah, because we're just going to kind of talk generally about what we'll be doing when we get to that session. But what was your question, Dr. Gloria?
I was going to go ahead, finish that first, and then I can ask.
No, go ahead.
Got the slide up. Go ahead and finish it.
This is a good
this
place
is the end? Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to comment, Julie, was if you had any experience with people in order to stimulate the vagus nerve, and any, because I have some experience with it with a hospital about coloring. When they had patients at Scripps College in San Diego that they were working on those type of autonomic issues and voice issues. I wasn't part of the study. I was one of the consultants. And I didn't know much about it, to be honest. And they found that over 90% of the people that they gave coloring books to, those nice adult coloring books with either color pencils or the color highlighter things, that it really stimulated it more than even some of the other protocols that they had used. And when I traveled a lot, I carried a coloring book and colored pencils with me in my carry-on. And if I had to sit at the airport for 2 or 3 hours or got snowed in somewhere, I kept coloring. And it really does reduce that stress of, oh God, I'm stuck in Chicago again, that type of thing. So have you had experience with that at all?
I haven't, but I think that's fascinating. And I think it bears witness to the fact that you can have great progress doing small, simple things, things that you would never expect would have that kind of impact. I mean, who knew?
Right.
That coloring could do that.
I mean, who would have thought? I mean, I thought it was kind of wacky, to be honest, when they first came out with coloring books for adults. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. And yet when I started, I think somebody gifted me one with like 48 colors. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I stuck it in my travel bag, and I was so grateful because it did reduce stress. You're not thinking about anything else when you're trying to stay within the lines. So that was a great experience. And by the way, they were using it with people that had the beginning. I never stayed long enough to see the end results of the study, but for people beginning with cognitive disorders and young people with ADD, ADHD, and on the spectrum of autism, but not full spectrum. And that's why they were trying to get them to focus, to color. Isn't that great?
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as it turns out, that was a brilliant move to introduce those coloring books, because our society certainly needs the de-stressing.
Yeah, we should have some QHS coloring books, Tracy.
Yeah,
go ahead, Julie.
Search just put doing puzzles.
Like in our spare time in my 15-hour days, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Julie, so why don't you explain this? This is the experience, and then we're going to go ahead and take questions.
Yeah. So this slide is just to let you know what the 3 parts of the experience that we'll be doing together that Tuesday will be. The first section is meditation, and it's very body-focused meditation intended to calm the mind and connect the mind to the body. And so there's going to be a lot greater detail in the final video that you'll watch before the session that will let you know what that's all about. The next part of the experience will be conscious movement. And conscious movement looks a lot like dance, but as you'll hear in the video, it's not like dancing at your cousin's wedding or going out to the club with your friends. It's very intentional. And so Tracy and I were thinking that it might be nice for you to actually experience conscious movement, just a taste of it today. So if we've got enough time, we'll do that. And then on that Tuesday, the next portion of the session experience will be conscious breath work. And we'll be breathing very deliberately into our bellies, filling our bodies with as much oxygen as possible, which is great for the vagus nerve and, very interestingly, allows stress to be released from the body. So the process that you'll engage in that night is designed to release any stress or trauma that's stored in the body and not to relive it. We're releasing it, not reliving it. So it's a physical process. It's not mind-centered. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hey, Julie, I'm sorry. But your cameras are off, okay? So don't get like, oh, I'm not going to do that in front of anybody else. So don't worry. I want everyone's cameras off. I might leave mine on, and maybe Julie will leave hers on so you can see how it goes if you're, concerned or whatever. But I just want to tell you that I absolutely want everybody's camera off. And actually, I'm probably going to, when I share it, for those that can't attend live, I'll probably just have it be in speaker view so that nobody else will even be on screen in a little square. Okay. Just to protect your privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not even sure that we can share the actual event in video form, but we can talk about that later. So,
okay.
But yeah. And Tracy's made a very good point. This is vulnerable work. And so, it's important that you have privacy as you participate in it. Sometimes people will leave their microphones open. Sometimes the body will actually emit or make sounds as people are breathing. And sometimes hearing other people making those sounds can help you connect with what's coming up in your own body. But it's strictly personal choice, whether you want to share that with the group or not. In fact, if it would inhibit you in any way, make sure your mic's off. So, and then in this conscious breath work session, or portion of the session, I should say, we will also incorporate shaking and trembling. And when you watch the next video, you'll understand why. And so our bodies, in fact, the bodies of all vertebrates, are intelligently designed to release stress and trauma from the body immediately after it happens. And so our culture, which values strength and stoicism and devalues vulnerability, discourages us from using our body in that way. And so we'll be relearning that together that night.
It's funny that you said that because when the kids were little and they'd fall down and get a boo-boo, I was always like, God, just shake it off. Now I know why.
Yeah, Taylor Swift is right.
Oh,
Yeah.
She's a savant, apparently.
So is it okay if we take
Julie,
Allison and
I have to say before we take questions, with 45 plus years in healthcare, what Julie just encapsulated in 45 minutes is worth, Kelly's applauding. Julie, I haven't heard you give a presentation like this, and impressed is not doing it any justice. You are blessed to share that, and what you said about the crisis we go through and what we learn from them. Years later, I can say I am who I am because of what I had to go through.
Yeah,
I'm going to get emotional, but it's true. And you're who you are to help all of us because of what you had to overcome and what you had to investigate and search and find to help you. So thank you. Bless you for that. It's phenomenal. And I'm sure everybody agrees. Thank you for that. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it turns out that journey was for all of us. And so, and that's what we all are doing here at QHS, right? We're all helping one another. So
that's right.
And I just wanted to share these testimonials so you guys can just take a read. And there's another page, so you guys can just like read these while we go. But I think these say a lot, and you know, everybody's different. We are bio-individual. We've all had different lifestyles and different lifetimes. And so everybody's experience is going to be a little different. And so, but these are pretty cool to read. So, Arison, do you want to ask Julie a question?
I don't have a question for her, but I do have something for in sense of distress. And we can take this as look at it in our own situation of how some of these words say things to us. It's 2 Timothy 3. But know this, in the last days, critical times, hard to deal with, will be here. For man will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, haughty, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, disloyal, having no natural affection, not open to any agreement, slanders, without self-control, betrays, headstrong, puffed up with pride, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. So we can take this in a round sense. We see that children are disrespectful to our parents. That hurts us. Betrayal, a husband or a wife leaves us. That hurts deeply inside us. We have people that slander us in our own family, and that hurts. So we have puffed up with pride, betray. Like I said, that's a husband leaving a family or whatever. Then money is a thing that we have to have, but sometimes we overlook our partners, our family, because we're working all the time, or we're spending it on foolish stuff. So Julie, you've done great. I love you to death.
Yeah, I love you too.
Appreciate you. And I just had that thought that we can take that scripture and sort of get all of the stress off of it from different aspects of the Bible.
That's beautiful. I thank you for sharing that. And I think that it speaks to the fact that we come by this honestly. You know, we are wounded warriors. And so, we're all doing the best that we can. The more tools we can gather to support ourselves, the better. And certainly God and his infinite mercy and love and wisdom is the primary part of that. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, Arison.
That was beautiful, Arison. Thank you.
Hey, Kelly.
Okay.
Hello, guys. Okay, so a couple of things. Julie, first of all, I always forget, and now I came into QHS in like March, April. I always forget that you had that issue with your voice because it's completely gone.
Yeah,
and then, it's amazing. And also, you every time I see you, you look younger and younger.
Thank you.
So gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Besides that, when you were doing the opening meditation and you were saying like, see the struggle and stuff. And it was so hard because I was trying to see myself struggling going down the river. But instead I just sort of saw myself like, woohoo, this is fun. And just kind of like going with it and like, yeah, this is life, And I was like, I'm having such a hard time making this a difficult thing.
Well, I think that's beautiful. And I think that it points to the fact that it's all about our perspective, right? And, Christine's talked about that in different lessons. And so, the way that we see something can certainly change our experience. But I do want to say that, I had made probably about as much progress as I could make using these techniques alone. And we're going to be sharing with you on that Tuesday night. But this was the game changer. It was the little extra edge that I needed. And obviously, I could speak well enough to communicate with everyone when we started doing Twine Zoom and now Vibe Tribe meetings. But this has really provided so much improvement. I can't even begin to say thank you enough for it. So, thanks. Thanks, Kelly. I love you.
Okay, Serge.
Yes, Julie, first I want to also confirm that from the first time I saw you to today, it's amazing that the transformation you went through. You're so much more easy to listen to now, and it just flows, and it's as if it completely cured. Now, the other thing I was raised my hand for is I would like to suggest to anybody, anyway, that to release stress for me in my career and mine, I'm going to spare you my stories, but I used to go out on my own somewhere or in a room or in a basement and just have what I would call a breakthrough process. I would just yell, bang, kick, scream, do whatever needs to be done. And it not necessarily addressed to someone. Sometimes it is, but there's nobody there but you. You just need to just release. And for me, in my career, it has done wonder. It has done wonder. And every time I did it, I came out younger, stronger, clearer. And together with all the stuff that you talk about today, which I practice, almost naturally, maybe not all of it, but most of it. So I do also the breakthrough process occasionally now. I don't need it as much in retirement, but yes. So that's my share.
It's awesome. That's really wise. That's really wise, Serge. And these breakthrough type experiences can happen through this work. And I want to bring this up because, we went into more detail about it in the other videos, but as we breathe, especially after we incorporate the shaking and trembling into it, breathing in and of itself helps release trauma from the body. stress from the body. Shaking in and of itself releases those things from the body. But when you combine them, people can have very cathartic experiences like what Serge was just describing. And it's interesting, people's first experience with the work, and I want you to know this is a generalization, but it rings true. Women usually get in touch with their grief first through this kind of work. And so that's what they start releasing. So lots of tears, lots of sadness, lots of frustration comes out through women. Men, on the other hand, a lot of times the first thing that they release, Serge, is anger. And so I mentioned that so that you all know that whatever comes up in you is what's supposed to come up in you. And the best thing that you can do is let it come out, just like Serge was talking about. You know, you might have to go into a room in your house, make everyone leave during this session we're going to do, so you can shout it out. So, but thank you for that, Serge.
Awesome. Thank you, Serge. Okay, last question, Linda, and then Dr. G is going to reveal the recipe for the week.
Okay, I don't really have a question, but I want to thank Julie for teaching me a lot of things that I didn't even have, unless my memory has failed me a lot. Since I retired, I spent like 20 years in mental health and social services. And of course, talk therapy was a big thing back then. They didn't teach us anything about engaging the vagus nerve and all those techniques. They didn't tell us about how talking and over and over and over again would kindle, you know, certain things. I had to learn the hard way about grief and all that because of losing my son when he was 16, and that's what sent me back to school to help other people. The last 10 years I've been in just staying on the farm and not really in the field anymore. But I've always, you know, really enjoyed hearing more about all of the different techniques for helping other people, because there's a lot of people in our communities and friends and family that still need help. And I love the key concepts. And now this is great. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, and I want to credit, you know, there were some very brave people who came forward with this work. Peter Levine, who wrote the book Waking the Tiger. Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score. They were not popular people in the realm of psychiatry, psychology when they introduced these ideas, but they needed to be brought to the forefront. So I'm grateful to all those people who had the courage to do that.
Wonderful. Okay, Rich.
Here we are. Yeah, I just wanted to also acknowledge you, Julie. You really have made some major shifts, and I wanted to express that there's a. I don't know if you're. Are you a? Did you take a course in breath work facilitating?
I was an apprentice, and that's how I learned the techniques.
Are you familiar with AOB, Alchemy of Breath? Which is, they do that with the breath work. But there's a free, I just wanted to say that there's a free breath work every Sunday.
Nice.
Anyone can go on there, and they do a whole thing, what you're talking about, the releasing of it. There's about 300, 400 people that go to that forum. And so if you want that information, I can give it to you.
Sure, thank you. I am aware of a few different groups who are doing that. And excuse me, Yeah, it is really important to be able to access this kind of work, um, and from my experience, facilitating this work in person and facilitating it virtually, what I found is that when people are breathing together, when you're talking about 300 people breathing at the same time, there is energy that is generated.
Yeah,
Everyone's having their own
totally.
individual experience, but there's
Yeah.
this umbrella that's it's intangible, but it's there. And so I think that phenomenon is called field coherence, the way that we impact one
Yeah.
another on an energetic level without ever knowing that we're doing it.
Exactly.
That's why women who live together, work together, their menstrual cycles will sync. There's something going on under the surface that we aren't consciously aware of. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Rich. That's beautiful. And if people have an opportunity to do things like that, I highly recommend it. There are different forms of breath work, and they all bear exploring.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Rich.
Yeah. And it's every Sunday that without fail.
Without fail.
It's like it's amazing what you just said. The level of consciousness that comes together. People are just waking up out of the ethers.
Yep. Yeah. Great stuff. Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay, I hope you guys can't hear that annoying phone ringing in the background, but I forgot to turn it off. So, really quick, you guys, your homework for
Tracy?
the week. What?
Yep. I was going to say, do the homework, and then you need to remind me which recipe it is, because I can't pull up the other screen. It went black.
Okay. So your homework is watching the other two videos. And what I'm going to do is when I post the replay, I will, when you're watching the replay on YouTube or in the chat on Telegram, I'm going to have a link to video number 2. Okay. I just have to finish editing it. It's been a little crazy. So you're going to watch 2 more videos and then be on the lookout for a link to our special WoW on November 28th, where we're going to have the experience, and the videos are going to kind of walk you through what to think of for that. And I'm super excited to share that time with you guys. So please encourage friends, family, people you know who are part of QHS, who are members, to watch this so they can get an introduction and then join us on that special call. They will be very, and you will be very thankful for that. Julie is just amazing. I've spent a lot of time with her in the last, for a while now, but really intently. Yesterday, it was just so fun. So, and then, so Dr. G, it's pad thai for the leftovers, remember?
Yes, but I never remember if I don't have it on my screen because we're cooking so much. How many of you have had pad thai? Any of you had pad thai? Oh, good. Well, then you're going to love this recipe, because pad thai is considered street food in Thailand, in many Asian countries, and they usually serve it to you in a little disposable paper plate. I think sometimes they're using plastic now, but we have made our version of pad thai, which of course has no ingredients that are inflammatory, and on top of that, how you can use a lot of your leftovers. If you want to make it with leftover turkey, if you want to make it with some chicken, or buy a rotisserie chicken and not cook it from scratch. So there's a lot of variations, and Tracy was a good sport and cooked it. And so we had a lot of fun doing it with a lot of humor in the video.
Well,
so you'll get the recipe tomorrow, right?
And the reason we're doing it now is because you're going to have turkey leftovers most likely, and then you'll be able to use them up.
That's right.
Recipe. And you guys, this recipe was so good that we made it on a Monday. We always prep on Monday, and I ate it Monday and Tuesday, and then I made it again Wednesday. I'm like, I gotta have more. So this is like, I'm gonna say,
now that to me is a big compliment to someone coming from Tracy, because a lot of the things it's like, well, I don't eat that. And I'll eat that, but I'm going to substitute this. So that's a huge compliment that she likes it. But it really is good, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those things that leaves that satiety in your mouth where you want a little bit more. And then, can I put it on vegetables? Can I put it on something else? So I hope you all enjoy it. Please give us some feedback. We had a lot of fun doing the show with it.
And I'm going to give you one other thing is that the sauce is enough for 2 rounds of the rest of it. So when you make the sauce recipe, it's going to last longer. So you could double, and I should put this underneath the video, but you could double the amount of vegetables and turkey or chicken or whatever, because that sauce tends to be a lot, because I don't use a ton of sauce, but it was adequate for, like 4 meals, the sauce was. So anyways, okay, you guys, first of all, I want to thank Julie. Go ahead.
Yes.
Wait, are you muted? You're muted.
You're off. Yeah, she's muted.
Thank you. Obviously, we didn't have enough time to get to conscious movement. There's more instructions about that in the video, but just know that when you come to the session and you do that part of it, you can move your body however you want to move it, and focusing on the areas that you'll identify. Raj has got it right. Mm-hmm. Focusing on the parts of your body that you've identified as places where you're carrying stress and tension can be a great way to engage in that part of the practice. So that's all I wanted to say, Tracy. We just didn't have enough time to get to that, but I so appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Julie, thank you so much. You are
and thank you.
Such a value add to QHS. Between Vibe Tribe and now this, it is so helpful for the members.
Absolutely.
And, people don't even realize how much they can change their body, because everything that we teach complements what's already taking place from our little magical device here. And it supports what this is doing. Being hydrated is so important. And, all of these tips and tricks that the leaders at QHS give you members is good for us, and it's good for you. So, but Julie, today was off the hook. Thank you so much. And I'm so looking forward to seeing all of you guys in 12 days.
All of you.
So no WoW next week, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. Right. And then we'll be back the following week on Tuesday for the special event. And then on Thursday, where Dr. G is going to talk about immunity, I think. Hold on, let me look.
That's what we're going to talk about.
When is the next call?
That special call is going to
28.
You're going to send us a schedule, I hope.
28.
Everything's in a newsletter, my dear.
We're breaking up.
Okay.
But 7 p.m. Central,
okay, we're breaking up.
7 p.m. Central is the time for the special event. So
on the 28th?
Yep, it'll be in the evening.
On the 28th, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think we are talking about immunity, aren't we? After Thanksgiving? Yeah. Did you look it up?
Yes.
I need 2 more monitors, but I don't have the capacity right now. So, yeah, we're talking about immunity. Okay. Both of us are giving you different aspects of immunity to help you. What?
All right, you guys, happy Thanksgiving. And I'm just sending you so much love. We'll see you on the Q&A call tomorrow. Thank you for coming, and make it a beautiful day, you guys. Mwah. Thanks again, Julie.
Thank you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much.
Love you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.